Hi, everyone. How are we doing today? Good? Pretty nice. It's amazing to see London being our global headquarters. So many nice and good faces, familiar faces here. Thank you again for coming. We have a unique session right now because what we wanted to do is we see that AI is getting adopted in the real world, and who best to actually bring three leaders in different industries to actually tell us more about that. This is not about ElevenLabs. We're an ElevenLabs event. It's more about what is actually happening in the world, and that's what for me is the most interesting piece of it. Juan, welcome. Thank you for coming. Juan leads AI, generative AI across BCG X. He's fantastic. We've been working together for over a year. We also have Terrell, who leads AI across Naturgy, 18 million customers globally, 24 countries, one of the largest utility companies across Europe. Oscar, thank you very much for coming as well. Oscar heads generative AI for deployment for Konecta, the sixth largest BPO in the world. Thank you guys again for coming.
Thank you for having us.
For me, it's important to start. On Monday, we announced our collaboration, strategic partnership with BCG. It's been a fantastic honor to actually work together very closely over the past months. And it's one of the key things. Matti was talking earlier about the fact of going deeper and helping the world deploy AI and agentic systems. And that's what we think collaborating between both companies is super key, because you have the expertise across a number of industries, big, small customers, all of that stuff. We have the technology. So there's really good synergies in there. Thank you so much for picking us and helping us. Juan, what are the trends that you're seeing in the industry?
Well, first of all, I think we are entering into amazing times. People are really, and organizations are adopting GenAI and agentic AI. We are seeing numbers above 40% in terms of adoption. But companies are doing basically three things, okay? Companies are implementing final users applications like, transcribers, summarizers for the day-to-day of the employees. The second thing that we are seeing, which is a heavy trend, and 80% of the companies doing AI are doing, is reshaping an entire business unit, transforming the customer service, transforming the way their engineers work, transforming the way they do digital marketing, taking a process, reshaping it completely, and agentifying it. And the third trend that we are seeing, very preliminary, but also with huge potential, is the reinvention. Companies that are trying to find new revenue streams, even creating greenfield autonomous organizations from scratch. So these are the three things that are happening in organizations today. Huge penetration in reshaping to capture quick value.
I really like it. Oscar, what are you seeing? You lead one of the biggest deployment for one of the biggest BPOs in the world. What are the trends that you're also seeing? What are the industries where you're seeing highest adoption? Tell us a little bit more.
So we're actually seeing quite a lot of transformation across the board. Industry-wise, we are seeing a lot of work on industries that are process-heavy, that have complex activities that they need to go through, activities around banking and insurance, for topics around back-office processes. Also a lot of engagement with customers on the front end. Retail, quick service restaurants for order taking, or for some of the processes that are heavy and repeated processes, are also something we're observing a lot. From a region perspective, we saw a surprising uptick in Latin America as one of the hotbeds of innovation.
Yep.
It's been a lot of pressure from the customers coming to us first, saying, hey, I see that this is happening, I want it now, with all the complexities also from a language standpoint. A lot of the models started very heavy in English, with a little bit more of complexity on Latin languages. So that's been an interesting evolution. And we are seeing a lot of growth also in Europe and in the rest of the regions as we go, with a lot of pressure on the compliance side. So we have a lot of ad hoc processes, ad hoc products that we can deploy. The reality is that enterprises need an enterprise-ready solution to have in place, and that allows them to manage, orchestrate, and control whatever is deployed in front of their customers and what they can have.
It's so funny, actually. Like I was thinking, and we're gonna go off script like all the time. So, but I was actually thinking like there is like multiple like velocities in deployment across the world, right? And I would love to like hear your thoughts, Juan, as well. Fundamentally, because like what we're seeing is like Latin America, India, specifically some like countries in Latin America, India, like Spain, UK, Germany, like they're adopting, like Nordics, are adopting generative AI much quicker than many other countries, right? So you end up having the two tiers. Is it something that you're also seeing, Juan?
Yes, yes, we are seeing, and also the things that they are doing are different. For example, in Asia, we are seeing a huge innovation in terms of automation. They want to manage the customer interface, you know. Huge adoption of customer interface management. In United States, focus is mostly in two main dimensions. Acceleration of their engineering departments, we see heavily that. And the second thing is augmenting the capabilities of their professionals, like real-time copilots, solutions that support the telephonic agents or the chat agents. So geographies are doing this because they have different efficiencies and also different cost structure. You know, it's very different, the cost per call in India, which is near 25 cents, to the cost of a call in US, which is near $3. So that also changes the equation of where you will invest, you know, the next AI dollar, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Terrell, how are you deploying agents across Naturgy?
Yeah, I mean, we've been having a kind of we think it's a unique approach because we started this process back in 2021, where AI wasn't even heard of, and we basically redefined our entire IT stack, and we started a transformation process with people first because we wanted to be the best customer service utility in Europe, and that's still our goal. Mainly because that's where we think our differentiator in the market lies, right? And so this has allowed us two things. First is to have people on board from the beginning because they know that we're in this transformation project and in this journey, and it's either we do it or we're out of the picture, right? And second is that our systems are AI ready from the beginning. So then what we did is we started doing a lot of pilots and POCs to make sure that we understood what we could achieve with the technology, and we know the right partners to go along on this journey because that's also pretty important. So right now we are on our beta and we're almost ready to go into production and put this solution in front of our customer, which is something that we're really excited about.
One thing that we see a lot, and I would love to get your take, right, is the fact that like there's like a very like C-level wants to deploy generative AI across a number of areas, right? And you're saying like you're now going live, you've tested and so on. Like, but there's like two sides of this equation. One is like what we want to do as enterprise or as businesses. The other one is like the team that we have supporting us as a business, right? How is the team transitioning? How are you helping the team transition so that like they all like are engaged with this big transformation that is happening in the business versus against it?
Yeah, I think it's really important to have C-level sponsorship on these projects because and when I mean sponsorship, it's not just because they want to have a press release and say that you're working with AI. It's because you really understand the technology, or it's the C-level executives understand the technology and where the value lies. That's pretty important. But also to get everybody on board from the beginning was really important because people tend to see AI as a threat at the beginning, right? And the way that they will lower that nervousness around AI, I think it works when you're working with it. You understand what it's capable of and what your relationship with it will be in the future, and that makes you a believer in the technology, and that's what our journey has been in the last 12+ months.
Makes perfect sense. You brought us a demo, right?
Yeah, I did.
Tell us a little bit
We're working with BCG and with you guys on, as I said, our beta test. I just did a very quick call because we don't have that much time, and our calls tend to be pretty long. But I have a demo that I want to show on how the interaction with this voice agent will be in the very near future for our customers.
Excellent. Let's play it.
Soy Eva, tu asistente virtual en Naturgy, y estoy aquí para que todo sea más fácil. Por cierto, grabamos esta llamada para poder mejorar cada día. Y si quieres ver la política de privacidad, está en naturgy.es. Ahora sí vamos allá. Dime, ¿eres cliente?
No, no soy cliente. Mira, me gustaría que me dieses información sobre cómo instalarme placas solares en mi casa.
Antes de seguir, ¿me dices tu nombre?
Claro, soy Terrell.
Encantada, Terrell. Te cuento. Primero se hace un estudio de tu casa para ver si es viable, luego te pasan un presupuesto y si lo aceptas, se firma el contrato y Naturgy se encarga de permisos, instalación y legalización. Si después quieres, también puedes contratar una tarifa especial para autoconsumo con compensación de excedentes y precios más bajos por la noche. ¿Te interesa que te explique esa parte o prefieres centrarte solo en la instalación?
No, ya, eso es todo. Muchas gracias.
That was great.
Let me tell a detail of this because I think it's very interesting, which is we've worked with ElevenLabs also, and they've supported us in something that was very new to us, which was human voice cloning. So the voice that you are hearing, we did an exercise of recording 1 hour and 30 minutes of a person. Next day, we had a human-like voice, the one that you are hearing in Spanish.
Yeah, that's one of a person from my team at Naturgy. It's her voice, and we did it just to test, as Juan said, the voice cloning capabilities of ElevenLabs, which is pretty impressive. And I was really excited. I didn't do because I didn't want to make a very long conversation, but this demo is also grounded on our system, so it allows us to do things on behalf of the customer. And because of how our systems are built, everything that the customer can do in his private area on the web page, the voice agent will be able to handle as well. So that would be a pretty exciting to deploy this and achieve, we think, a very impressive customer service.
I think like Anthropic put it really well in Davos, where like last year it was all about proof of concepts for the big enterprises, right? This year is about a proof of impact, right? It's like, how are you generating actual value for both your customers and for the organization? So I think there's been like a massive shift like towards like showing it, because everyone is testing it, but like who has it in production? How much actual ROI you're getting on it, right? What is the biggest issue, Juan, that you see with organizations trying to deploy agentic systems?
Well, there are 3 things that organizations are challenging today. The first one is focus. They don't have focus. Every time that I land in an organization, I see that they are doing 120 POCs, but impacting $0 in the P&L. You don't need to do 120 things. You need to do 10 that impact the P&L. The second thing is, people think that this is a tech project. This is a complete business project. Tech, and as we like to say, 10% of the effort in a project and the impact relies on the intelligence of the model. 20% on the IT infrastructure, platform, etc. But 70% of the effort and impact will come from changing processes, changing people, and making this capillarize along the organization. So this is the first challenge, focus. The second challenge that I see, the third challenge that I see is not focus in value and focus in technology. You shouldn't just think about which is the best LLM, that's secondary. what you should pursue is value. Because today technology is very mature. We hear that voice. For the ones that understood Spanish, that woman took a breath in the call. She basically laughed a little bit. So we are in a level in terms of technology that it's already sufficient to start bringing heavy impact. Let's take that as a priority instead of just improving one extra point in accuracy, you know? That's my view.
I fully agree. Oscar, like, what are the biggest challenges that you're seeing when deploying? Because like you're in this like really interesting space in the middle between companies and technology overall, right? So what are some of the challenges that you're seeing right now?
So taking on Juan's point, I think the element around focusing on the value and how you are transforming the process or the experience that you are creating is the first big hurdle. Is technology, it's been proven, works. You have significant ways to implement and put in place solutions that really feel natural, that really are driving the conversation. Ensuring that you are focusing on the right part of the processes, on solving for the friction points that a customer might have, and then addressing all the different silos that an organization has to actually get you there is where usually a lot of the time is taken. And then also creating that feedback loop or that intelligence to listen, understand, share an intimacy with our clients to explain, hey, we are observing this is impacting your business, let's focus on how do we change it this way, and iterate much faster than what we were used to iterating back in the day with a traditional service where you have to train the agents, you have to spend time getting them ready to follow a new script, and then you can accelerate that feedback loop and training capability, and that's an area that requires some change in the behaviors of our teams and the client teams, but it's really the point that can make it or break it.
And do you see some industries that are like much more like forward-looking towards like this like technology stack that we're like all building?
We've seen quite a lot of interest in, as I was mentioning before, on industries that are heavy on some of the processes in back office, or industries where there is a lot of interaction to provide basic information to customers, or where they need to take several steps to complete the activities. Terrell was mentioning on the utilities industry, all the processes that you can do in your own personal page. That's a perfect example of right now being 100% reactive. It has a lot of opportunity to transform into being more accessible and be more proactive in how you engage that area.
That makes sense. And I'm actually quite curious, like how did you pick your stack, your tech stack? Because like there's plenty of providers out there. There's like ElevenLabs, we power pretty much 90% more than 90% of anything that is AI voice in the market, but there's plenty of solutions out there, our agents and a bunch of other ones. How did you pick your solution, your stack and everything?
So our main guiding principle is being open and interconnectable, because at the end, the reality of an organization like ours is we are working with the technology that a lot of clients already have. So the theoretical, I can go and implement whatever I want into the client environment is nice to have in a lab. It doesn't really work in real life. And then the focus is looking at best-in-breed solutions for each one of the elements, and that modularity of how do we put everything together to deliver the value that we are looking for, starting from the process and the value we're trying to create, not so much the technology. Technology has to be an enabler, is critical, but the focus is what solves best the problem that we are trying to get into.
Okay, that makes sense. You brought us a demo as well.
I did as well, yes. What you'll see is a brief demo of a financial customer, of a financial client in Latin America. The focus in there was to transform one of the processes that is taxing for human agents, which is cash collection, which is basically calling people and saying, you've, especially the first 30 days post-delinquency, you have not paid for your credit card, or this. We should negotiate a payment plan. And what we built, or what we worked on building there is as an agent together with BCG that would help us turn that not only into a notification, but making sure that there is a negotiation that we can get to execute. And it actually is performing amazingly well. We have managed more than 350,000 calls. Wow. And the reality is that it is performing at the level of the best agents that we have working on those services, focusing on additional business that the customer, the client in this case, couldn't address before implementing this.
That's excellent. Well, we'll talk about like ROI and performance and everything in a second, but let's see the demo.
Awesome.
Mira, yo podría pagar mañana el 50%. y el otro 50% pasado mañana.
Entiendo, Ana María. Entonces, podrías pagar el 50% de la deuda mañana, 6 de febrero de 2026, y el otro 50% el 7 de febrero de 2026.
Así es.
Perfecto, William. Con el abono de 200.000 pesos, distribuiríamos 14.881 pesos al crédito hipotecario y 185.119 pesos al crédito de libre inversión. ¿Estás de acuerdo con este compromiso?
Sí, estoy de acuerdo.
Nice.
Let me say a fun fact about this, because I think it's an interesting project, right? Which is, when we were making it, I mean, you know, collections. Collections is a hot topic, you know, not easy calls. And you would assume, hey, people are going to hear a robotic voice, which is not the case at all. And by the way, ElevenLabs was not only the best Colombian voice, but also one of the only ones that exist in the market, okay? Without a cloning, okay? But the fun fact is that the NPS of the experience of the debtor improved. So you would expect a much lower, what we call RPC, which is real connection, because a bot is calling. That's not the case. And Oscar can give more details here, but when you look at the funnel, and as Oscar mentioned, the bot is performing equally to a human.
We see it a lot in Brazil, for instance, like where it ends the conversation with people end the conversation talking to agents saying "vaya con Dios," right? It's like equivalent of like "have a good day," but like in a very similar, like in a very specific way for Brazil. And for me, I'm always like amazed because like fundamentally, I'm like, really, people forgot that they were talking to an AI agent and then like thinking they talk to a human because that's the natural thing. And that's what like, I believe like once you get that, you've made it, right? You've made it in the sense that like people have exactly the same experience or better that they were having before. Terrell, how are you thinking about the ROI, success metrics, all of that stuff?
Yeah, for us, as I said, the main success metric is to really have the best customer experience and the happiest customers in a utility, which is a big ask because nobody loves its utility company. So that's our driving force behind the project that we're doing, and we are really excited about it because if you think about, we have over 800 agents in 4 different locations across 2 continents serving our customers, which do a terrific job. But it's really hard to have a homogeneous experience for our customers, depending on who are they talking to. So we feel that if we can handle most of our conversations through an AI agent, that are our more day-to-day things that we treat our customers, and we can give them a very homogeneous experience, which is I think really impressive what you can achieve with AI, and leave our agents to handle the most important and most complex parts of the operations with the customers, then we will achieve a much better customer experience from what you get today. And as Maddie was saying at the opening, reduce wait times, have 24/7 support, multilingual support for our customers, and so on and so forth. So that's how we are looking at ROI. We're not in a very financial type of approach to it right now.
Juan, are you seeing like similar metrics, KPI, success, all of that stuff across different organizations, different industries, or does it vary a lot based on the industry?
It varies a lot based on the domain, use case, and industry, and also the strategy that the company has. It's very different to have a cost optimization strategy than to have a growth strategy, and depending on the market, you will decide where you want to invest your buckets. Today, most of the projects are focusing in cost optimization. Having said that, the business case becomes much more positive when you focus in top-line impact, of course. A lot of people think that agentic is about, let's cut here, cut there. In reality, the way you should think about this is, imagine scaling your organization without any limitation. Imagine contacting any, every person living in London today with no limitation. So that's not cost efficiency. Yes, it's productivity, but it's about top-line impact. It's about scale. Agentic will bring into companies the scale that they didn't have and the speed that they didn't have because we were focusing in human capacity,
That makes sense. Like we were talking backstage about agentic organizations fundamentally, right? And you were telling us, Juan, like what you're seeing right now in the market. Like, give us like 30 seconds.
Yes. So this is related to the first topic that I was saying, which is some companies are really creating a green field where autonomous organizations are being created. And we are not very far away from seeing, a first autonomous telco or a first autonomous sales distribution channel for a utility or even an entire autonomous BPO, right? The limitation is not in the tech. The limitation today is mostly in regulation. For example, what Terrell was saying, the experience is delimited by regulation, but from a technology perspective, you are fully capable today to create this type of organizations, and we will see it very soon.
Oscar, what's the future of BPOs, right? Like probably what everyone is thinking here, like how are you seeing all of this and how are you like getting ahead of it and what are the trends and all of that stuff?
So it definitely changes the positioning that we have as an organization. We traditionally were working in an industry that was based on providing seats to address processes that companies wanted to outsource. That moved more into outcome-based activities, so focused on, hey, how much of that can you deliver and I'll pay you for this? And it is focusing up the chain on how do I get to the outcomes of the business, to Juan's point, more focused on what is the top line and what is the benefit for the customer as we evolve. We see it as an increasingly tech-focused activity, so we need to ensure that we not only operate the activities that are happening, but we also are leveraging the best in breed that we can find, and also maintaining that hybrid mode of working we still have. And for the next years, we foresee that there are parts of the processes, parts of the activities that we will want humans to be part of. So we will want humans to be managing, addressing, engaging with customers in certain situations where you want to have that closeness and that empathy, whilst there are many cases where you can automate and remove that part of noise from the activity by making the whole process hybrid. And that orchestration, that positioning on how do I manage the right approach, how do I make sure that the customers of my client are getting the right support in the right place at the right time through the right channel, optimizing the channel is a critical part of where our industry will be evolving.
Because we go multi-channel across the board, right? Like, I mean, I hate when like a company is like force you to actually interact with them in one single channel and that specific channel, right? And I think like that's one of the big benefits of agentic systems that like essentially you end up like plugging in multiple channels and be where the customer is versus like be where only where you want to be. Very briefly, Terrell, like what's next for your deployments? Like anything that you can share, like you don't have to reveal any major stuff.
Yeah, so our focus is to deploy this on the second quarter this year, and we're, as I said, we're really excited on putting this in front of our customer and seeing their reaction. So yeah, and also I think that we are starting to look ahead on what's coming next to us, because we were really focused on this project for the last 12 months, and we think that there is a lot of other places in the organization where agentic AI will help us deliver better experiences for our customers.
Will you focus more on the next ones on internal optimization of the organization? Will you focus much more on customer optimization?
I think both, Carlos, and I mean. The possibilities are almost endless right now, but we want to have focus and impact on what we're doing. So those are the two main criteria that we're following on how to approach our next projects.
That's excellent. Well, I mean, for me, it's been great having you here, guys, seeing like the impact that like your organizations and the deployments are having across the world. What we wanted to do fundamentally is like just share a different perspective of what is actually happening, right? Because like sometimes what we see is like we only are in our own vertical, our own industry, and I think it's important to actually see what other people are actually doing. So I really, really thank you guys for coming here on stage and being with all of us. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everyone.